Houston, we have a problem. What do we got going on right there? Oh, no. Yep. Dang, I was wondering why it was binding up. You have to remember that this is a crawler, not like a endo trick, I guess, RC. And you kind of got to treat it as such, because if you don't, you are going to end up with broken parts like what we've got right here. You can see we've got a little drive shaft angle, and it was binding up because that piece right there, this piece, so that's like the drive shaft coupler end link. So it's supposed to be connected to there. It's supposed to be connected to, you know, that piece right there. But yeah, let's see what it's going to take to fix this. Shouldn't be much. It's just like a I don't know. Let's just check it out. So you can see this is actually a Redcat Gen 7. It's modified. I'll show you a couple of different modifications that I've made to it. Obviously just kind of like bang it out a little bit. Just get some of the dirt out of here. Be nice to kind of have a clean surface to work on here. Obviously mine's going to differ from yours in a sense, just on obviously the outside body appearance. But just pop the clips so we can see what's going on here. And you can see it's just a regular Gen 7. Nothing special about it. You can see that, you know, my mounting locations have been changed. I've adjusted my shock mount locations. Just a few, I guess, upgrades that I've done as far as reconfiguring the truck. I've also swapped the battery mount. It's just basically reversing the mount so that it mounts the battery a little bit more, I guess, lower center of gravity. I kind of like that idea. I don't remember if I made a video or not, but the wheels themselves actually have lead that wrap the inside of the rims. And that's just to keep, I guess, the truck more planted as it's climbing. So first thing you're going to want to do, you know, if you don't have a truck stand or whatever, mine's a little bit different just because of the way I've got the mounts. I can just flip it upside down and you can see that it's sitting on its posts. Now obviously it's the front drive shaft that's broken. And that's actually from doing an endo or multiple endos, which I think what happens is you kind of get bored with rock crawling and you forget that that's what this thing is designed for. And, you know, I just started doing some trick stuff with it and changing out this rear gear. So that's actually an old school Robinson racing gear from the 90s, I want to say, which is insane that that piece actually fits on this truck. I'll have to see if I can find the footage to it, but I did like this whole thing about, you know, some of the upgrades that I did, mods, just using some of the old school stuff that I had. Just get this gearbox and motor kind of out of the way. It's really easy. You're going to be removing these link screws right here. Just goes to the front because obviously we've got a broken, you know, front drive shaft. You know, this piece obviously you'll be able to pull out. No big deal. Seems like it's pretty free. So taking these screws out right here. So we're going to be popping out the two screws that I had set on the sides right there. And then you can see the actual transmission mount screws right there. So we'll be or transfer case. I guess you could call that more like a transfer case because that is what's going from, technically, I guess you want to say maybe, so from your pinion gear to spur gear. And that's just a 2mm, well, you can see it, 2mm hex drive. And just kind of just push the screws in and kind of let it fall away. Then we'll go after these screws here. Now it'll get to a point where you get to this last screw right here, and the transmission and motor and everything is just going to want to kind of drop out of place. So just let it drop. Now what we want to do is be able to kind of, I guess, fish the motor and everything out of this section here. And you can see we've got it pried away. Now you can just disconnect the wires. Very easy. It's just the positive and negative wires off of the motor. So we'll just disconnect that. These are just those bullet connectors. And there you go. Now the engine and transfer case transmission is all disconnected. And now we can go ahead and address this issue right here. So we'll just take the drive shaft, just pull it right out. And you can see that this thing has had some torquing twist going on with it. And you can see it's twisted. And there's no reason to, replace this. I mean, that's kind of that weak link. You'll just have to know that once this weak link is gone, because we're going to be, I guess, epoxying this piece into there, there won't be a weak link anymore. So there is the possibility of, breaking other stuff.
12 seconds later.
I think instead of epoxying it, okay, so I know I said epoxy. I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to separate the pin out of here. That way it would allow me to pull this section of the, I guess, drive shaft, yoke, and couplers out. And I'm going to get my heat gun, and I'm going to heat this up once I put this piece in. And we'll see if that works.
Eventually,
So the way that this section of gear is actually held in, if you look at it, it's kind of like a set screw. But it's a threaded pin. And I'm using a 1.5 millimeter hex. And you can see how that just screws out. You'll be able to then pull that pin completely out. So you can see there's the threaded side and there's that pin side. And now what you can do is basically you can just pull that shaft right out of there. And then I'm just going to press fit that coupler back into the shaft. Kind of got to see. I have to see if I can see inside there. So I'm going to turn on the light. So that's better. So now we can see inside there. I want to see if I can clean it up first to see whether if I can use the heat gun and, press this back into place. I guess try to keep things together. Reform this slip section, which is kind of like, it's almost like a keyed portion that goes onto that little coupler. So I'm guessing from the factory, right? Just by the way, kind of things are looking, I guess, that this is kind of pressed in, probably with some kind of heat. So I'm going to heat this part up, and I'm going to use these hose clamp pliers, or hose pliers that I have. Fortunately, they actually fit around that circumference of this piece right here that I kind of want to reform. So we're going to heat this up very carefully. Probably heat this end up too. And this is obviously, all metal design, so I'm not concerned about anything, warping or anything for this piece. And this piece right here, we are kind of trying to warp. Or we're trying to make it more malleable. And then we'll press fit this back in and then see if it works. So, to see if it works. You can see how it's misshapen, how it tore out. Obviously, be careful, you're using a heat gun. So I want to see if this made the plastic formable. Yeah, it is a little softer, so. Gotta be careful you don't heat it up too much. You kind of smell it. That makes any sense to you. Now I just want to press this piece in, see if that's going to work like how I'm thinking. Boy, is that hot. All right. So you can see that that did work. It's definitely pressed in now. So let's get these little hose clamp pliers to go around this unit where it was, you know, malformed right there. Let's see if I can kind of like heat it up and then kind of, you can see it's actually already working. I'm guessing that this is actually going to work out pretty mint. I got to prop this heat gun up just so I can have two hands. So kind of prop the heat gun up like that. I think that's working out pretty good. See what I'm saying? Is now what we'll do is we'll just take that piece and we'll rotate it as I'm crimping it. So it's just rotating and squeezing that little piece. I think that's working out. Look at that. That works fine for me. Ooh, that thing is hot. Sweet. I think that pretty much worked. So I've got kind of another plan or an idea. I've got a smaller size. And I'm going to heat up this portion again. And I'm actually going to crimp this inside portion and see if that helps. All right, so this is that smaller size that I was saying. And what I'm going to do is I'm again going to heat this up. And then I'm going to take this. It's funny having the camera in the way. And then I'm going to squeeze, as it's heated up, this portion right here as I rotate it to see that if I can get a stronger clamping force on that inside. And then obviously heat it up again. It'll be able to form this little flanged plastic piece right here just a little bit better than what it is. So let's heat that up. Yeah, you can definitely feel in the pinch strength, it's definitely more malleable. Just going to turn and rotate it as I put pressure on this. This should work. Yep. And then I'll just reclamp this portion again. You can see I'm turning it as I'm clamping it. So now what I'm doing is I'm just turning both pieces using both clamps at the same time. I think that's going to work just fine. Yeah, look at that. You can feel the heat radiating off of it. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to dunk this in some cold water just to kind of shock the plastic. I don't know, can you call it quenching? It's technically what it's called. So technically right now, we just quenched the piece. So let's get this thing back together, and it looks fine. Yeah, that's solid in there. I like that. That works. But there we go. Easy, quick fix of tearing out that, plastic portion of the drive shaft half into this coupler here. Cool. Let's just see if what side's the threaded side. Probably should have marked it. Nope, just one side. All right, so you can see this side is obviously just a touch bigger. So there's the receiver pin, or the pin receiver portion of this threaded coupler. And then here's that threaded shaft piece. So we'll just pay attention to which side. It's not going to matter which way, this way. You just want to line up the shaft or the pin or whatever. Kind of push that in. Just like that. I got the coffee shake. I'm gonna screw that in. Sweet! Nice! Fixed, I think. All right. Well, now we'll just get that back into the truck. You don't have to hook the wires up now. Maybe just kind of clean stuff up as you go. It's very apparent, too, which way things go. If you try to put it this way, obviously, section of the motor mount's not going to line up with that piece. So you won't get confused doing this part at all. So obviously you just want to guide the shaft in. That's easy. You just basically rotate the shaft until it mounts up. We're good there. Kind of just push it into place. And then just basically just rotate this shaft until that goes in. There we go. Now for now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take one of these little links, kind of put it into position for now. It's just kind of in position, you know. I'm going to line up the actual transmission. Line up my holes. And then just get one screw kind of started. Keep everything loose for now. Get the next screw lined up, sunk in, and put the other ones in. Now just remember, you're putting this stuff into plastic, so no, Arnold Schwarzenegger strength here. Putting these things together. And you can see on mine where I had to notch out this motor mount, I guess, base plate slash protector. And I put my other link in place. Just make sure other pieces are tight too. While you're here, you know. Everything feels good. Sweet. Now I'm guessing this should be fine. So now we can just hook up the wiring for the motor. You can't mess that up. Black bullet connector to black bullet connector and red to red, so that should be good. So obviously just make sure your wires and stuff are kind of out of the way. You don't want to get anything wrapped up on that drive shaft. So what I may do is I may tie this right up here with a zippy tie just to keep things out of the way. But yeah, that was it. So let's take it out for a test ride. Mint. Oh my gosh. Work, damn you. So there we go. Redcat Gen 7 modified. Pretty sweet. So now let's just go in.